Have you got to your discussion chapter and thought, what am I supposed to write here? That is completely normal. Every PhD researcher hits that wall. You've spent months or years collecting data. You have finally got your findings and your supervisor's like, yeah, go and get on with your discussion chapter. And you're like, ugh. This is essentially the chapter where you've got to answer the so what question. It's not just about what your findings, what your results are, it's about what they mean, okay? The implications of them. It's about why they matter and how they fit into the broader knowledge around your topic. So if your discussion draft at the moment just looks like a stream of consciousness with some question marks, don't panic. That is all completely normal. Today, I'm going to walk you through 3 simple steps to get a bit of structure and a bit of clarity. Let's start with a myth about the discussion chapter, that when you sit down in front of your computer to write it, it should just flow. It should come out all neat and structured and lovely. Nope. Your discussion chapter is born messy. It is supposed to be born messy, and that's fine. It's where you start making sense of your findings. And sense making is a chaotic process. So if your first attempt looks like spaghetti, that's all right. Think of this chapter as your academic thought kitchen. You've got ingredients everywhere. Literature, theory, results. It's a mess. And you're figuring out how to turn all of that into an actual meal that you can serve up to people. The trick is to develop a clear structure so that even whilst you're cooking it, someone reading it, i.e. your supervisor or an advisor or a mentor, can follow what you're doing, even if it's not polished and finalised yet. So start with your foundations. Before you type a single word, go back to the beginning. Your title, your aims, your objectives, your research questions. These things are your North Star. Your discussion chapter should always circle back to what it was that you set out to do. So ask yourself, have my results answered my research questions? How do my findings connect to the themes I identified in the literature review? This simple reset stops you from drifting into a random reflection mode, the whole stream of consciousness thing. And it will help you keep your discussion focused. And remember, your discussion is where you interpret your findings. It's not where you relist them. And there's an important distinction there, because you've got to revisit what you found, that's important, but not just repeat and recycle it. You're adding something extra in the discussion. Your results tell us what you found. Your discussion tells us why that matters. Quick question before we move on. What is the most difficult thing for you when it comes to starting your discussion chapter? Is it knowing what to include? Is it linking back to the literature? Or just wrangling it into a logical order? Drop it in the comments below. Next up, you need to build the main body of your discussion around themes. And this is where most people get stuck, because they just try to write in a straight line. But it is very important that you brainstorm first, that you get messy, that you get all of the ideas out of your head as to what the themes, what the main categories, what the main headings of your discussion chapter could be. Grab a notepad or a big messy Word document and write down your findings. Now, not the intricate itty-bitty details, but the overall findings. The main things you discovered, a summary of them. Now, ask yourself, how do these findings align with or challenge what other researchers have said? Did anything unexpected pop up in my research? What new things am I bringing to the table? And don't rush this. Take your time with it. You might want to do a first initial brainstorm and then put it to the side and go away and come back to it. But don't try and force yourself to get this done within half an hour, because the work that you've done during your PhD is really significant. There's a lot of it, okay? A lot has gone into that. So you might need to have a few sessions of brainstorming rather than just the one. That's perfectly fine. Once you finish brainstorming, Once you're happy that you've got all of it, you've remembered all of the key things that came out, we need to get to a point where we are grouping those things into 3, 4, or 5 main themes or headings. Those will form the backbone of your discussion. Each theme should follow this mini structure. Firstly, give your theme a name or a working title. It doesn't have to be perfect now. You can come back to it. You can change it later. Secondly, state the key point, describe it. What is this theme all about? Thirdly, link it to your findings. Next, connect it to the literature. So is this something that agrees with the literature, disagrees with the literature, extends the literature? And end with a so what. What does this mean for your field? Let's take a look at an example. Let's say you're doing a social sciences PhD on how people use humour in online activism. Maybe your first theme is humour as resistance. So you'd start by describing how your participants use satire or memes to critique political issues. Then you connect this to the existing literature on digital activism. You might show how your findings support the idea that humour can lower barriers to participation, but you might also extend that by highlighting how it creates a sense of belonging, and that might not be something that previous researchers identified. And finally, you'd end with your mini so what. So maybe humour doesn't just spread messages, maybe it sustains movements emotionally, especially when progress feels slow. Boom, that is criticality right there. You've moved from saying your participants use jokes to humour shapes collective resilience in activism. And don't worry if your writing is a bit messy and scrappy at this point. That is perfectly fine. This is all about identifying the big deal things that your research does. It's about getting it out. It's about pulling these things from your study. You can polish it later. You can tidy it up later. Okay? Messy is fine, okay? It is a station on the train journey to a finished PhD. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, you might find this helpful. This is my PhD survival guide for the discussion and the conclusion chapters. It walks you through in a lot more detail than I'm able to do in this video, how to brainstorm, how to develop structure templates, and it gives examples of how to link findings to literature clearly and how to ensure that you're being critical. The link to that is popping up on the screen right now, and I'll also put it in the description for later. Next, you need to own your limitations and use them well. A lot of PhD researchers kind of dread talking about the limitations of their study because they think it's kind of self-sabotaging. It's not. It's a way of building credibility. Being upfront about what your study couldn't do or shouldn't do shows self-awareness. It shows your maturity as a researcher. Because no one study can ever do everything, okay? There is a boundary around every PhD that's done. No one study is flawless or perfect either. That's not a thing. So think about things like methodological limits, time or resource constraints, any gaps that you had to leave unexplored. And then flip each of those limitations into a lesson. So how could future research build on this? What opportunities did this particular challenge uncover? And this naturally leads into that section where you talk about the implications for future research. The perfect bridge to the conclusion chapter. And if you want more structure, more sentence templates, more examples, go and check out my PhD survival guide on the discussion and conclusion chapters. It is packed with stuff that will help you go from absolutely overwhelmed to, oh, I can do this now, I get it. And if this video helped you feel a bit more confident about your discussion chapter, you might be interested in the other videos I've got on my channel. So go and have a mooch around. I'll see you in there.